Lecture number 24 over here, and today we are talking on the contents are the torque slip curve. I have told you previously also that whenever a torque and speed is being talked about, this is actually we are talking about any motor. But here in an induction machine, since the rotor is slipping behind the stator magnetic field, so instead of N over there we use the word slip, and that's why it is called as a torque slip curve. And this question comes out a lot in your interview questions, that what is the induction motor torque slip curve and why it is in such that shape. We are also going to talk on a Thevenin equivalent circuit. Solving is the technique over there using this Thevenin equivalent. You already are familiar from your CAT course. And then we are going to see that what is the motor and generator region, which means now today I'm going to convert that machine, which is actually a motor, into a generator. And how that is going to happen, we will see that also. And at the end of the day, at the end of this lecture, we are going to talk on the maximum pull-out torque. And this is the torque maximum which can be produced by your machine, but under some certain circumstances over there. This is the equivalent circuit, and this is the equivalent circuit we drew on the last Friday also. So if you can see, just for a reminder for those who are still lagging behind, this one was representing the stator, this one was the resistance of the per phase, this one was the leakage reactance corresponding, this RC was corresponding to the eddy and hysteresis losses, JXM was for the air gap magnetization, this is the V phase voltage, certainly phase voltage. If it is Y connected, then this is line to line voltage divided by under root 3. If it is phase voltage, then this is only V phase, or also VL or delta connected. And then this portion over here is the rotor, and if you remember, we called it as R2 by S. Practically this is not happening, this is just for our simplification if you remember the Friday lecture. And this is the leakage reactance for the rotor. Now in this whole circuit, equivalent circuit or the diagram, one problem is here. Every time you are being given a value of slip, you have to actually first of all find out, okay, this is the current I1 flowing, and for that purpose you have to first of all find out the total impedance of this circuit. And when you have found out that, then you have to find out this I1, and that I1 certainly is going to be based on V phase divided by that Z equivalent over there. It's a very lengthy process. Why? Because these are going to be in series, and then you have a parallel combination with this, and then you have a series combination over there. Now today we are going to talk about some approximate analysis that we can do to find out why we are actually interested in finding out the torque, because the torque is actually being developed here or used over there. So this one is actually having the rotor copper losses and the converted power over here. The converted power, the mechanical power being developed. So I am interested in the power which is flowing over here across this barrier, which is the air gap power. So when it's flowing over here, I am interested in this power which is being consumed inside this resistor. So this means if I am interested in this P air gap power, this is going to be equal to 3I2 square R2 by S. 3 for the phases, I2 is the current flowing over here in this rotor branch, and R2 by S is the resistance divided by the slip. Now when you have to find out I2, you're required to do the current division rule, because some current is flowing here, some current is there. It becomes a very difficult task. So now today we are going to actually modify this circuit, and based on that modification we are going to find out current I2 in a little easier way. The first approximation which we are going to do, you can call it an approximation, but practically it is actually sometimes given in the data. Now what was RC? RC was the stator core losses inside the induction machine. Now if the machine is working at a constant load, listen to this very carefully, if the machine is working at a constant load, this means R1 plus JX1, their drop is going to be constant. So this means that this V phase and the voltage at this terminal, which is actually E1 over here, this is also constant. So when this is constant, the core losses are relatively constant. And if the R1 and JX1, even if they are a little smaller value, whatever amount of current flows over here, I1, this voltage E1 will still remain the very same. Maybe just like 0.5, 1 volts difference. But overall, the current flowing inside the magnetizing branch will remain the same, not that much change. So the first approximation which we are going to do is this, that we are going to ignore RC over here. And why we are going to do it? Because I just told you that your P core, the core losses, they are almost constant. So we call P core plus friction and windage as a constant value and give them as a lump. So we don't use RC. So our circuitry is now not having that RC. So this RC has been totally taken out, and now the value of P core losses plus friction and windage. Now if the machine is working at a constant load, your speed is constant. When speed is constant, friction and windage losses are also constant. Core losses, as I told you, they are also constant. So we can treat them both as a constant value, and I can take them away. So now my equivalent circuit is now a little easier over here, because I have now just a magnetizing branch JXM, and that is in series with these two elements, and then I have to take in series with R1 and JX1. Now I require I2 current over here. Now this I2 current is actually based on the current division of I1 based into I0 and this I2. Now easy way around for this one is this, that if I have this circuitry over there, I need to find out my air gap power, which is actually the power dissipated inside this resistor. So 3I2 square R2 bias. I know R2, I know my S, I know the 3 is a constant, numerical constant. I2 is not known. So how to find out I2? Here will come the Thevenin equivalent circuit. Now if you remember your Thevenin theorem or Thevenin equivalent circuit, what you used to do, I need to find out this I2. So this means if I want to find out the Thevenin equivalent at these 2 points, which means I will make this circuitry over here into its Thevenin equivalent form, which means that now it will be something, a source of V Thevenin in series with some R Thevenin, JX Thevenin, and this will be connected here, this will be connected here. So it will become a series circuit. And when it will become a series circuit, my I2 can be found out very easily, and I don't even need to do or find out the Z equivalent or whatever. I just need to have all the series element and I can find I2. So our solution is Thevenin equivalent. And for that purpose, this portion as shown over here, I am going to convert it according to its Thevenin equivalent circuit. Now I don't need to repeat or whatever you have done. I guess you are doing CAT 2, so you have an idea of how Thevenin equivalent circuit, but I have just still shown the process over there. See how this is going to be done. I have taken this circuitry over here. This is same V phase, R1, JX1, JXM, and this voltage across over here will be V Thevenin. You already remember it from your CAT 2. Is CAT 1 में पढ़ा, CAT 2 में पढ़ा? 1 में. So you already are familiar, I hope, because you will be applying this one in your CAT 2 also. So this V Thevenin is the voltage. Now if I want to find out V Thevenin over here at these 2 points, this means I will have to find out by voltage division rule. So in phasor form, this will be V Thevenin equal to, because this is the JXM, so JXM divided by the total impedance in series multiplied by V phase. So now this is in phasor form. This is in phasor form because I have JXM in the complex form on the in the numerator, and then I have JX1 and JXM also in the complex form. So this will be a phasor output, but I am not interested in the phasors over here at present. I am only interested in the magnitude, because I want to solve this circuitry for current I2. I am only interested in current I2, because when I have current I2, I can find out my air gap power, and I can divide this air gap power divided by omega s, and I can find out my torque. That is actually my main aim for today. Now over here, you are going to first of all find out the V Thevenin magnitude. For this purpose, certainly you are going to take this JXM will be actually XM. In the denominator, I have R1 plus JX1 plus JXM. When I will try to find out their magnitude, which means it will be the same impedance triangle. This will be R1, this will be JXM plus JXM. So I need to find out this value hypotenuse over there, Z over there, and that is over here in this form by using the Pythagoras theorem. I hope you still remember. So this is very simply the magnitude of V Thevenin, and from here you can easily find out the magnitude of V Thevenin that is actually going to be used. And that V Thevenin circuit will just come on over there. It will be something like this. This V Thevenin will be R Thevenin, JX Thevenin will be connected at this point. So this will be R2 by S and JX2, and now very easily I can find out the current flowing over there, that is I2. Where is I2? I2 will be equal to V Thevenin divided by the series over there. So it will be very simple over there. Coming back to this one, there are some approximations, and if you have done any numericals from this chapter, maybe 6 point. हाँ देखो यहाँ पे आपके पास you have V Thevenin equal to, in phasor form, you have a inductor which is actually a reactance, and then I have R1 plus JX1. So I need to find out the voltage at this point. So this means that JXM divided by the total impedance, and that total impedance is R1 plus JX1 plus JXM. So this means that I have to convert this one into its magnitude. To convert it into magnitude, I will have this square root, the same r plus r square plus x square is equal to z square. So this is the same thing over here written in the denominator, and since this is jxm, it's already a jxm, so it will be just converted into xm into that. So this is the magnitude, because I am not interested in the phasor form or whatever, but if it is asked, then you have to find out this equation. So when you have found out this VThevenin over here in the magnitude form, there are some approximations which you have to apply. What are those approximations? Now if you remember your equivalent circuit, if I go back over here in this circuitry, I told you when you were developing it that R1 and JX1, they have to be very small. Why? Because the main current is going to flow through them. If it is very large, then certainly it's not a good machine, because you are going to have losses and drops over here. So technically R1 and JX1, they are on a very small side. They are something in milliohms. I'm talking about something 1 milliohm, 2 milliohm, 23 milliohm, something like that. Many of the numericals in your chapter number 6, they are having R1 and JX1 very small values. But on the other end, JXM is a little large value, because this is based on the air gap. Now that's certainly, this is going to be smaller than the one which was in transformer. But now I am not comparing an induction motor with a transformer. I am at present comparing this one with these two values. So technically over here, JXM is a very large value, maybe like 10 times larger or 100 times larger than R1 and JX1 individually. So I have to apply now some approximations. If I go back over here x1 plus xm is being squared. Also R1 is being squared over there. Now since I told you R1 is a value something in milliohm, 2 milliohms, 3 milliohms. The smaller the better, because आपकी resistance कम होगी. So when you will square it, it will become even a more smaller value. So I am ignoring R1 totally over here. So in this denominator, I have taken this R1 square out of it, because its value will be very small. So in the denominator, you can see, you will not see anything over here. The next approximation, if you see over there, is this, that now x1 plus xm square. So square and this will be cancelled, because this is already gone. So I will have now just xm divided by x1 plus xm. So there is a simplification of my VThevenin over here, that VThevenin is approximately equal to xm divided by x1 plus xm. But this is again an approximate result. If in any numerical question you are asked, can you please give us the exact VThevenin, then you have to use this one. But I guess normally just like 1 or 2 questions are there in which they have asked the exact value. They normally only always go, because the difference is very small. That difference, because this R1 square kitna hoga? 0.2 milliohms, square it, that becomes something 0.2 multiplied by 10 raised to the power minus 6 something, or 0.4 actually 0.04 multiplied by 10 raised to the power minus 6. So that difference is not going to create that much difference over there. So over here VThevenin is equal to this form. Next thing, after you have calculated VThevenin, the next thing you have to calculate is your Thevenin impedance. And that means you are going to short circuit your source. So this means now, and seeing from this terminal, you can call these two terminals as A and B. So you are going to find out the impedance between these two terminals. And if you see very closely, this is a parallel circuit, which means this is in parallel with the series of these two. So when you are going to find out your Z Thevenin, which is actually R Thevenin plus, this is JX Thevenin. Sorry on this part. So this is JX Thevenin. This will be equal to, now I have just taken the parallel branch over there. If you can see, JXM multiplied by R1 plus JXM divided by the total impedance, which are everything in series. So this is just your Z Thevenin over here. Now, one thing very important. The next, I am going to do the proof, which is, this is not in your book available. They are just given the end result over there. I'm going to do this proof over there. In the exam, if it is asked you to, find out Z Thevenin, and you don't remember these formulas, you only have to find out R1, JX1, JXM, ये आपको data में पहले ही दे दिए गए होंगे. You know how to find out Z Thevenin, you know the parallel formula. You don't need to memorize these formulas and all this proof and end at this result and this result. Okay? So you just plug in the values, इस तरह का circuit आप बनाए, and this one, find out their parallel branch, because you already know Thevenin equation. Okay? But yes, if the proof is asked in your paper, then certainly that you have to go through this all proof over there, because this proof is important. Now I have this Z Thevenin over here, and this is a very complex term with the denominator having Again, a complex value, numerator also having some multiplication being done. So what I am going to do, I am going to rationalize it. And I hope you remember it, what is rationalization. I am going to take the denominator and multiply it by changing the sign over there. So this means now this term over here, Z Thevenin is equal to this one. I will scare the screenshots of this proof also, because this is not available in the book. Okay? So you can go through this one yourself. Now, very simply, simple mathematics, I guess, but I'm still going to repeat it. I have this one minus minus, this is actually the same plus. So this means in the denominator, this term multiplied by this term. This is a plus b, or a plus iota b. This is a minus iota b, or j. I guess in machines we are going to talk about more j, not iota. Iota is coming from the maths. So this is a plus jb, and this is a minus jb. So my answer becomes a square minus j square. J square will be converted into minus 1 afterwards. So this has been converted into plus, because this is minus minus plus. So I have in the denominator this term over there. On the top, first of all, what I have done over there, I have evaluated this variable. So this is jxm r1 over here plus j square xm x1. So over here, now I have this first term and this second term over there, which is actually exactly the rationalization term. Now based on these two, I have multiplied each one of them over here. And when I have multiplied them, I have this expression with j square, j cube, j square, j cube. Now since I know j square is equal to minus 1 and j cube is equal to minus j. So it is equal to minus j. So over here you can see, I will share the screenshot, you can do the mathematics yourself. I'm not going to go in the whole over here. This is jx and r square, just with this one. So I have replaced j with minus 1, j square with minus 1, j cube with minus j square with minus 1, j cube with minus j. So after doing the simplification, this term and this term, they cancel. And I have now over here, if you can see, jxm r1 square plus j term. Only one term is remaining, which is not j. Hamza, you have some water? Sorry about this, please. Okay. Okay, so this one is being cancelled. I have now j term here, I have a j term here, I have a j term here. So I have xm square r1, and the denominator I have simply r1 square over there. Now this term over here, I am going to apply the approximations. Again, the same approximation which I applied here using this term, I am going to apply some approximation. But before I apply approximations, I am going to separate the complex part and the real part. So what is the real part? Real part is this, and complex part is this. For this purpose, R Thevenin is xm square r1 divided by r1 square plus x1 plus xm. Now, see very carefully over here what I have done. R1 square, again a very small, ignored. So r1 square is very, very small as compared to x1 plus x square. So what I have done, xm divided by x1 plus square into r1. So only one approximation applied. My R Thevenin is just now equal to r1 multiplied by xm divided by x1 plus xm over here. Second approximations on the x Thevenin, I have this x Thevenin, and certainly the complex part is equal to this form. So I have x Thevenin over here into this form. Now here three approximations are there. Now you should see very closely over there what is x Thevenin. Denominator I have the same term, r1 square plus x1 plus xm. Again r1 square gone, it's a very small quantity. Here xm multiplied by r1 square. R1 very small tha, r1 square is still a very small quantity. So this approximation also gone. Next thing, next term, x1 square xm. Again x1 is a very small quantity, square it, it's again going to be small. So this term and this term, they all cancel each other. Oh sorry, they are ignored actually. This one and this one, they are actually ignored over here. So what I have now, x1 xm square in the numerator, x1 plus xm in the denominator. Here again, last approximation, which I am not personally agreed on this one, but still anyway, they have done it, that x1 plus xm is approximately equal to xm. Why? Because xm is a very, very large value as compared to x1. By example, if xm is supposedly 26.3, so if this is 26.3 ohms, x1 is something 0.214 ohms. You can confirm this from your numericals, something like that. So you can see the difference over there, 100 times difference over there. So when you are going to sum and then square it, it's approximately the same thing. So xm square and xm square cancelled, and they have given a very, very small approximation that your x Thevenin is equal to x1. And I will strictly advise you to do any numerical, solve it by using this x Thevenin and r Thevenin, and also try to solve it using the exact z Thevenin also, and see the difference for yourself. You will see the difference, that how much ohms difference is getting in over there. But if you want to, and one thing very, very important, in the exam, if your question is just of like maybe 3 or 4 marks, then no need to apply the accurate formula. Just go with this r Thevenin and x Thevenin and try to follow it. Because you will be given, what you will be given, one thing very important, in any of the numericals, you will be given r1, you will be given jx1, you will be given jxm, you will be given r2, not s will be given separate, and then jx2 will be given. Now when all of these values are given and it is asked to you, give us the induced torque. Very simply, plug in r1, jx1, jxm, find out your z Thevenin or r Thevenin by using this formulas 2 over here, and build this circuitry over here. As soon as you have built this circuitry, use your simple Ohm's law, find out I2 equal to V Thevenin divided by whatever the impedance over here, and when you have found out I2, your air gap power is equal to 3I2 square R2 by S, and for your induced torque, divide this air gap power by your omega S, you have the answer. It's just like a 3 or 4 equation answer. You can just do it in like 3 or 4 lines even also. So please see your marks of your question and then decide that you have to use the accurate formula or the real formula. I have given this 2 over here. You can see this is the approximate formula, R Thevenin over here and X Thevenin over here. But remember one thing. In all of these questions, you have a Thevenin equivalent circuit. Please have a habit of drawing the circuit. Direct answers likhne nahi hai. You have to draw the circuit so that the examiner knows you knew that it was a Thevenin equivalent, what is the actually, and do show that you have actually doing this for current I2. So you can maybe just like 2 or 3 lines on each step and you have the answer. Again, sorry? ऊपर R Thevenin and JX Thevenin, ये देखो जी, you have this equation over here, R Thevenin and JX Thevenin. The non-complex form is this. Non-complex is there in the denominator. So this means these two is the real part, R Thevenin. X Thevenin is the complex part divided by the denominator. Denominator के अंदर complex नहीं है. Denominator में real है सारा. See, I have to just put it here in the this term and this term. So you can see what is R Thevenin. This is this same thing over here. And X Thevenin is this thing, which is actually this over here. Okay? So I have given the approximate formulas also, and if you are interested, I will not advise you to memorize this one. It's very difficult to memorize it. It's better you just know how to do it. That is actually by having it in parallel, because you have the value circuit. But yes, you will have to have a little bit memorization for this one and this one. Very easy for you. So when you have found out R Thevenin and X Thevenin over there, build this circuitry, and the next thing you are going to do is the current I2. Now current I2 will be equal to V Thevenin divided by this value. Again, this is in phasor form. Again, this is in phasor form. So I need a magnitude of I2. I am only interested in magnitude. So I will take the magnitude, which will be equal to, again, square root in the denominator. I need Z over there. So this is my current I2. Now very simply, next thing, P air gap power is equal to 3I2 square R2 by S. S will be given to you. One thing very important, again I am repeating this again and again, S, if it is given as 0.02, then you have to use it at 0.02. But if it is written percentage S as 2%, then you have to first of all, ये नहीं है कि यहाँ पे S की जगह पे 2 लिख दिया and the whole question is wrong then. Don't do this mistake, because normally students do this mistake a lot. So you just put in the value of I2 here, you will square it. This is your final expression for your air gap power. Your air gap power is equal to 3 VTH square into R2 by S, and the term that is actually the series impedance of everything. So when you want to find out the torque, you have P air gap power divided by omega s. Omega s is the synchronous angular speed. So you have everything in the denominator and the numerator. You can find out your induced torque. Now, this equation, certainly very easy to memorize, nothing difficult over here. You have 3 over here, you have VTH square, you have R2 by S, and you have omega s. Now, this equation, in this whole equation, if you are working on one machine, you will have only one thing variable, that is the S. If your supply is constant, V Thevenin is also constant. Supply नहीं change हो रही, V Thevenin भी change नहीं होगा. ओमेगा एस क्या है, किस पे डिपेंडेंट है, एन एस पे डिपेंडेंट है. एन एस किस पे डिपेंडेंट है, 120 एफ बाई पी. So every term in this whole equation is constant if you are working on one particular machine. The only thing that is changing is S. So this means that for this whole equation, if I can move my S from 0 to 1, ठीक है, I move it from 0 to 1, certainly slip 0 रखेंगे तो ये तो infinite हो जाएगा and everything torque will become infinite. So this means I'm not going to plot it from 0 to 1, I will plot it from like something 0.0121 approximately. So when I'm going to plot this equation of torque induced, I'm going to get something like this over here. Okay? So previously, if you remember your DC machines, whenever we used to find out the torque and speed curve, we always had an equation, and based on that equation, हम देखते थे कि वो straight line equation है, it was a parabola or whatever. Here we have the equation with us. Now, since this is not a very simple equation, it has denominator terms, it has everything, it has S over there. So when you are going to plot this, and I will strongly advise you, it's also one of your part of your the solved examples in your MATLAB. If you're doing MATLAB in any course up till now, so I guess it's very simple. Just plug in this formula in MATLAB and ask slip to go from 0.001 to 1. You will get this equation, which is the curve over here, which is the torque slip curve. And please, one thing very important, the shape of this torque slip curve is this saddle effect, not this one, actually this one. Don't, इसको कई अक्सर बच्चे जो है, कोई इसको पकड़ के कोई इसको ऐसे बना देता है, कोई इसको ऐसे बना देता है. Please don't draw. It has this saddle effect over here as this one and over here. And one thing very important, as I have told you, your slip which is workable, यानी कि आपकी मशीन स्लिप पे काम कर रही है, it will start from something 0.001, it will go to 0.001 to 0.08 something, 8%. From 0% to 8%. So this means on the x-axis, when you are plotting the slip from 0 to 1, your working range is just the very small range which I have indicated over here. Only in this region, that is this shaded region which I am shading at present, is the working region, which means when the machine will start, it will be somewhere here, and when you will load, your speed will decrease a little, and at full load, this will come at this point. Now I have zoomed this picture over here for you. You can see this is that same picture. Your machine, when it will start, it will be somewhere here, and as the load will increase, your speed will a little bit decrease. But you can see the speed decrease is very, very small, and that is just like 2%, 3%, or maximum 8%, because slip is 8%. So when the load is going to increase, this is the region where your induction machine is actually just having its parameter. So you can see this machine has a very good speed regulation. वरना otherwise DC machine में बेशुमार ऐसी machines थी, you had a lot of machines there where speed was decreasing down as the load was increasing. यहाँ पे the slip percentage, which is the maximum slip, maybe at full load, not more than 8%, or maybe in worst cases 10%, not more than that. But if you have done the experiment in your machines lab, you are doing it for machines, DC machines, you would have found 25%, 30%, 40% even over there. But in induction machine, this region over there, which I have shown over here in this form, and certainly this is NS or N synchronous over there, because machine यहाँ से start होगी. लेकिन जैसे ही चल पड़ेगी, when it will start, it will be somewhere close to NS. As I have told you, there will be a lagging. The rotor is trying to catch up the revolving field, but it can't. The relative velocity will come in and whatever. And then it will go up till this point. So this region over here, which I have shown, is the workable region. The remaining region over here, as you can see over here, is showing you if you load the machine beyond its capability. Now, if a machine is designed, आपके पास machine एक design हुई है for up till this point, which means it is going to give only this amount of torque as full load. इसका मतलब ये है कि machine के अंदर the winding which you have done, it can only handle current up till this point. इससे आगे करेंगे machine winding will damage, it will open circuit. Copper cannot sustain that current. Because here, when you are increasing your load, your torque is increasing. Because increasing the load means torque is increasing. On the y-axis, I have torque. So when I am increasing the load, you are having a torque increase, but at the very same time, your speed is also being decreased. So this point over here, which I have marked as cross, this point over here is the maximum full load point torque of any generic machine. But if you have designed specifically one machine that has a torque capability more than that, आप उसके अंदर वाइंडिंग ज़्यादा थोड़ी अच्छी कर दे, मोटी कर दे, thick wire use कर दे, and you try to take this one, the maximum torque it will achieve over here is going to be called as the pull out. The word pull out because at this point you have to pull out your machine from the circuit. Because if you don't do it, after this point the torque is going to be less. And the starting point, because speed when it is going to start from zero. So the starting torque is also very large, and this point over here is very large as compared to the Y point. Why? As I told you very previously, when the machine is starting from rest, an induction machine, what you have in the rotor induced EMF is maximum. Why? Because the relative velocity is maximum. So you can see the starting torque is almost 2 times more than your full load torque point. This is a generic term. Not applicable for every machine. There can be different types over there. So this X and this Y point, they are having almost 2 times difference over there. And this is the main reason that induction machine has overthrown series motor from very critical loads, such as the lift, elevators, or maybe like something on the cranes or whatever. Previously series motor was used because it was having a very good series DC motor I'm talking about, or the universe. Now induction machine is the actual answer, and the advantage is enormous. First of all, you only have to give one supply to the stator. Rotor में आपने supply नहीं देनी है. You are going to get something in the 80 to 85% efficiency range also. Efficiency is also increased. Secondly, there is no maintenance. In DC machine, you had to give carbon brushes. Carbon brushes will be eroded off. And thirdly, very, very important, the speed regulation is so small that your machine is virtually working at a constant speed. Because if this NS is supposedly 3000 RPM, this NR, the full load, will be approximately something 2800 RPM. So just a drop of maybe like 200 or 180 or something RPMs over there. So induction motor, 3 points or 3 points over here, T starting, T pull out, the maximum point over there. Now, I will explain it maybe in the next lecture, that why at this point, when it reaches it, it goes on to decrease it. Okay? Why this happens. ठीक है, अभी मैं इसको डिस्कस नहीं कर रहा हूँ, that is actually related to your equivalent circuit. But here at present, this is your full load point. Let me mark it over here. This is your full load torque point. This is maybe your no load starting point, because this will be a little away from your NS. This one is your starting torque. This one is your pull load torque. This one is your full load. One question over here, which I am floating it again for 1 bonus marks. Now, just now. You have the equivalent, the torque slip curve in front of you. When machine will start from rest, will it follow this trajectory and come where somewhat here? Supposedly half load लगाया है मैंने. So will it follow this trajectory or something else? I'm again repeating the question. Machine right from rest मैंने start की है. It is working, it's going to produce this much torque. So ये क्या पूरा path travel करके इस point पे आएगा, या क्या path follow करेगा? Can you answer this also? Because can you answer this question? Question is this. This is the starting point of your machine. You are producing this much torque. So is this going to follow this trajectory and reach a speed of something like 2900 or something? So it is going to follow this trajectory which I have shown, or it is going to follow some other trajectory. And if it is going to follow y, and if it is going to follow this one y, हैं क्या होगी? आंसर ऑन दिस वन एंड रीजन ऑल्सो. क्या ट्रेजेक्ट्री? मतलब आपके पास एक मशीन है, जीरो स्पीड से स्टार्ट हुई है, दिस इज ओवर हियर. नहीं, एक मशीन जब स्टार्ट होगी, relative speed is going to be maximum, your induced EMF in the rotor is going to be maximum, current is going. So this point is a must. ये बनना है, चाहे लोड जितना मर्जी हो. Remember this thing. This T start will always be there. The point over here is that कि यहाँ से इस point तक कैसे पहुँचेगा ये? Will it follow this trajectory? Will it follow the straight line? Or whatever trajectory. क्या ये स्टार्ट होने के बाद कहेगा नहीं अच्छा मैं ज़रा नीचे जाता हूँ फिर मैं इधर जाता हूँ? मतलब हाउ इट विल गो ऑन. जी हमजा जी, एनीवन फ्रॉम दिस 2020 आंसर मी, वन बोनस मार्क्स स्टिल एब्सोल्यूट. नहीं, इफ यू आर फॉलोइंग दिस कोर्स यू कैन आंसर इट. इसका आंसर मैं डीसी मशीन्स में दे चुका हूँ, मैंने किसी लेक्चर में एक जगह दिया है. अगर पता है चुप रहना, अभी बाद में बात करेंगे, अभी इनको देने दो ज़रा, बिकॉज दिस इज नॉट योर कोर्स, आई कांट गिव यू द बोनस मार्क्स. जी, एनीवन? नहीं, मैंने मिड टर्म में सत्यानाश किया अपना. जी, एनीवन? पुल आउट होगा, यानी कि इसका मतलब है कि मशीन इज गोइंग टू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम रेस्ट, टॉर्क प्रोड्यूस हुआ, उसके बाद ज़्यादा प्रोड्यूस हुआ, फिर वापस कम हुआ, समथिंग लाइक दैट. क्यों? रीज़न बताओगे इसकी? relative velocity is going to be only maximum at the start. मशीन चल पड़ी तो relative velocity तो कम हो जाएगी, तो पुल आउट तो नहीं आना चाहिए. पुल आउट कभी नहीं आएगा. जी, अबे हिंट भी दे दिया. नाउ we have discussed this one in your, I guess, DC machines. You mean that it is going to start from here, and if I have to reach up till here, so this will be something like this. जी, लोड कांस्टेंट है, हमने यहाँ तक पहुँचना है, लोड कांस्टेंट है. मशीन इज स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम 200% है, मतलब वो जस्ट एक मैंने परसेंटेज वैल्यू दी है, यानी कि आप समथिंग लाइक दिस. हाँ जी, व्हाट डू यू से? जी, anyone with a different answer? Maybe any अच्छा, why is the logic for this ऐसे नीचे आने के लिए? क्यों? किसका टॉर्क? मशीन का टॉर्क. क्वेश्चन मेरा अभी भी यही है कि why the machine produce a high torque and how it will produce at this trajectory. क्या it will be a straight line? Why it will it be something like this? Or the answer is going to be like this. G. G, anyone? Any from over here? Actually, there is also one hint in chapter number 6 at one point for this type of question. If anyone has a book, you can go. चलो पेज नंबर भी बता देता हूँ. आई विल टेल यू द पेज नंबर ऑल्सो फॉर दिस कार्ड. पेज नंबर 370 371, चैपमैन 5th edition. थर्ड वन, यानी कि यहाँ से ऐसे, और सही ये मैं उल्टा बना दिया हूँ थोड़ा इस तरह से. जी, क्यों? रीजन?
स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट में से टॉर्क
मैक्सिमम है,
उसके बाद जो इंड्यूस्ड टॉर्क होगा वो रिलेटिव स्पीड कम हो रही है तो टॉर्क डिक्रीज होता जाएगा. तो वो 100% से मतलब डिक्रीज होगा. तो इस पॉइंट तक पहुंचने के लिए ये मतलब करना.
जी, जिसने ये लिया है बुक का, ये कुछ आंसर कर सकता है? इफ यू कैन आंसर समथिंग. अच्छा जी, वन थिंग. हाँ जी, यू हैव टाइम 10 seconds. जी, no one else wants to. Acha ji, he is accurate over here, this one, almost accurate. If you have gone through page number 370 and 371, these are the curves. This curve is for the induction machine. ठीक है. Now the load which you have applied, उसकी एक अपनी curve होगी. And since I am talking about this point supposingly as the torque required, the load is going to have something, a curve like this. The load line. That load line can be an exponentially something like this. It can be also a straight line, or even it can be something like this. Now I told you, I guess if you remember it, I told you that your fridge in your homes or deep freezer, it is a constant torque load. और हम उसको इसीलिए भाग के बंद करते हैं बिकॉज इट इज हैविंग अ कांस्टेंट टॉर्क, विच मीन्स कि अगर आप उसको यू रन इट एट सपोजिंगली दिस स्पीड ऑल्सो, इट रिक्वायर्स दिस मच टॉर्क. You run it at this speed, it will still require this much torque. That is a very different type of a load because the load on the compressor, which is actually the gas, is already there, always there. उसने रहना है, वो pressure कम नहीं हो रहा. But here the load which I am talking about will be having something like this. So this is my crossing point. Now question over here is it, as soon as the machine starts from here, it will follow a trajectory something like this over there because the machine inertia is going to reduce the relative velocity. But initially it will be little slow, then afterwards when it increases, then it will be a very fast. So it will be something not exactly an exponential decrease like this, but maybe it can follow a trajectory like this also. But again depending upon the inertia. अगर आपका एक ऐसा मशीन है जिसका वेट बहुत ज़्यादा है, उसको मूव करने में टाइम लग रहा है, दिस मीन्स दैट द स्टार्टिंग टॉर्क विल रिमेन फॉर अ लॉट अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम क्योंकि रिलेटिव वेलोसिटी फैक्टर इज स्मॉल. So they are going to have a lot of inertia. That inertia is going to decide that it is going to follow. But this pull-out torque point will never be achieved. This can only be achieved if you are supposedly working at full load and it is asked कि जी हाँ जी हम कहते हैं हमने मैंने ऊपर जाना है. So this is very important. So I am giving like something like you can take 0.5. Like you little bit answer. What is your roll number? 111. Bonus marks. Okay, sorry. I guess वो जो यहाँ लेता है पहले यहाँ बैठता वो नहीं आ जाए शायद, जो ले चुका है काफ़ी. जी, any questions with this? Torque slip curve over here. I will strongly advise you, just maybe take like 15-20 minutes from your MATLAB, plug in this equation over there and change S and try to find out or plot this torque slip curve. And don't miss this one. Now one thing, maybe tomorrow I will talk about it in your combined class. This torque slip curve, if I will change your rotor resistance R2, if I will change your rotor resistance R2, this curve will become like this. Why? We will talk about this one. But this curve can change by changing the rotor resistance R2, which means at this point, if it was R2, at this point, supposing this is R2 dash, this means that R2 dash is greater than R2. So you are getting a lot amount of starting torque also. Sorry. But the problem is that for full load, the speed is reduced. तो आपकी रोटर रेजिस्टेंस बढ़ने से, लिसन दिस वेरी केयरफुली, आपकी रोटर रेजिस्टेंस बढ़ने से आपका फुल लोड पॉइंट पे जो स्पीड है वो कम हो गई है क्योंकि अब लॉसेस ज़्यादा हो रहे हैं. रेजिस्टेंस R2 बढ़ गई है, लोड ज़्यादा है उसके ऊपर, लेकिन लॉसेस अभी भी हो रहे हैं. बट द स्टार्टिंग टॉर्क इज इंक्रीज्ड. So, and this is a very, very good way of increasing the starting torque of your machines. आपने एक मशीन ली है, उसने एलिवेटर खींचना है, लिफ्ट एलिवेटर, 12 बंदे 10 बंदे अंदर चढ़ गए हैं, एंड द वेट इज लॉट. आपके पास इनर्शिया बहुत ज़्यादा चाहिए उसको उठाने के लिए. आपकी मशीन सिर्फ 100% केपेबल है. So you want to start it from rest, you will change your resistance R2, the starting torque will become 300-400% of it. But as soon as it will come at this point, हम क्या करेंगे, रेजिस्टेंस R2 को वापस R2 डैश से R2 कर देंगे. सो नाउ इट कम्स एट इट. आपने अक्सर देखा होगा इन योर लिफ्ट्स और एलिवेटर्स, नॉट मे बी इन पाकिस्तान, मे बी फॉरेन, दैट योर लिफ्ट एक्सेलरेट्स वेरी फास्ट एंड देन आफ्टरवर्ड्स इट रिड्यूसेस इट्स स्पीड. This is happening because of this resistance R2 changing. You take a very high starting torque, ज़्यादा torque होगा, ज़्यादा जल्दी से वो it is going to achieve that speed. But as soon as it reaches a steady state speed, then it will go slow. So what they do, they change this resistance from R2 dash to R2, which means starting torque is changed. So अगर हम इसको यहीं पे ऑपरेट करते रहेंगे, no issues, but speed अब कम होगी and losses ज़्यादा हो रहे हैं. We will change the resistance, and how we will change that resistance? Here actually comes the second type of induction machine, which I told you a few lectures back. That was slip ring induction machine, which was having the resistance terminals coming out of your rotor, which is available inside your lab. The motor just with your door of your entrance of your machine's lab, just left of it. This is a slip ring machine. I will talk this one maybe tomorrow. Okay, now, if I extend this torque slip curve beyond the motor region, because I have a motor region over here at this point. Now here at this point over here, the slip is equal to 0. Now here when I will increase it more, this means now the slip is going in negative. 1 से 0 पे आए हैं, अब 0 से आगे negative में जाएगी. Now this region over here is the generator region of your induction machine. अब हम कर क्या रहे हैं? Listen this carefully. I will give like 2-3 minutes to this one. आपकी synchronous speed ns थी जो आप प्रोड्यूस कर रहे थे अप्लाई करके वापडा से. You were applying 3-phase supply. You got a synchronous speed from the stator. The rotor was moving somewhere here. आपके पास यहाँ पे इस लोड पे काम कर रही थी. अब आपने क्या किया है? आपने रोटर को एक ऐसे मैकेनिकल लोड के साथ अटैच कर दिया है जो कि खुद घूमना शुरू हो गया. सो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग नाउ? अब आप रोटर को कह रहे हैं कि भाई एनएस स्पीड से भी ज्यादा स्पीड से मूव करो. आई एम आस्किंग, एक मोटर थी, यू हैव अ स्टेटर, यू हैव अ रोटर हो जाए. स्टेटर रोटर इज रोटेटिंग एन आर लेस देन एन एस, लेकिन रोटर से आगे आई हैड अ टर्बाइन. दैट टर्बाइन वॉज टेकिंग फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल द पावर. वहां क्या हुआ? आई पुट सम लोड ऑन दैट टर्बाइन, द लोड वॉज वर्किंग फाइन, नो प्रॉब्लम. अब मैंने क्या किया? मैंने अब उस टर्बाइन को और तेज घुमाना शुरू कर दिया, मोर देन द स्पीड ऑफ द स्टेटर मैग्नेटिक फील्ड. सो नाउ इंस्टेड ऑफ टेकिंग पावर फ्रॉम द ग्रिड, अब मैं रोटर से स्टेटर में इंड्यूस कर रहा हूं और अब स्टेटर की तरफ वापस पावर जा रही है. I'm again repeating, listen this very carefully. Your machine has an NS and that NS is the stator revolving magnetic field. Machine कहीं यहाँ काम कर रही है which is working at NR. No problem, nothing every. Motor चल रही है, power is coming from the grid, you are converting it into some mechanical energy. That mechanical energy, instead of now consuming it, मैं कहता हूँ कि उस टर्बाइन के ऊपर, now I have, that turbine is supposedly working at Tarbela Mangla. मैं क्या करता हूं? आई पुट द वाटर फ्लो ऑन दैट टर्बाइन एंड स्टार्ट टू मूव इट ग्रेटर देन एन आर. ये मैं इसको इंक्रीज करना शुरू करता हूं. एज सून एज आई विल क्रॉस एन एस स्पीड, नाउ द पावर फ्लो विल बिकम फ्रॉम द रोटर टू द स्टेटर एंड फ्रॉम द स्टेटर इट विल गो टूवर्ड्स द ग्रिड और वापडा whatever. This region is called as the generator region of your induction machine. And you are doing this experiment also in the lab, I guess, where you start a motor, उसको floating point तक आप लेके जाते हो. That floating point is this point where your NS. That is the point. ना वो motor है ना generator है. At that point zero power. ना इधर से आ रही है ना इधर जा रही है. But when you will increase the speed, then it becomes a generator over here. ठीक है? So a motor will be converted into a generator, and this is a very big problem. आप डीसी मशीन में क्या करते थे? आप एक मोटर अप्लाई करते थे, उसके साथ एक और जनरेटर कपल करते थे, and then you take a power out of it. Here you have to first of all start it as a motor, then couple it, and then load it with a grid. Then why this is happening? We will talk this one in the maybe the last lecture of this chapter, chapter number 6. That why induction generators require it to start as a motor and then convert it into generator. हम डायरेक्टली क्यों नहीं स्टार्ट? हम मैं कहता हूँ जी एक जनरेटर है, रोटर के ऊपर मैं सप्लाई करना शुरू करूँ और स्टेटर से वापस वापडा को पावर जाना शुरू हो जाए. क्यों नहीं होगा ऐसा? That is the answer which we'll talk about when we talk about induction generator, the last article of this chapter. ठीक है? Okay. Motor and generator, I'm just going to talk about this much. The remaining will be done in the last lecture. This over there. One thing going back, the last thing over here, just like 5-10 minutes. आई हैव द पुल आउट टॉर्क. मुझे ये पुल आउट टॉर्क पॉइंट मालूम करना है कि ये कितना है, which means how much power or how much torque is being produced, and this is happening at which slip point. ठीक है जी. The question over here is it that this pull out torque point कितने slip के ऊपर हो रहा है. This is my important point. And how much torque is being developed. मैंने T full load निकाल लिया, मैंने T start निकाल लिया. T start के लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा? One thing very important, please, one thing very important. In this equation, if you put S equal to 1, you can find out T start. ऐसे ही है ना जी. स्लिप के ऊपर स्टार्टिंग पे स्लिप 1 है. So you will just put S, यानी कि S खत्म हो गया. The only equation remaining is that now it will become T start. At any full load point, you know your slip. Supposedly this is equal to 0.02. Put S 0 to 0.2, you will get that full load torque. But now there is no way to find out pull out torque. To find out now that pull out torque, I need to find out this pull out torque and how to find at which slip this is happening. Now, if the maximum torque is happening at this point, this means that corresponding to this point of pull out, maximum power is going to be dissipated inside this R2 by S. Now, apply your circuit analysis CAD1 and CAD2. इस resistor के अंदर maximum power कब flow करेगी? CAD1 और CAD2. I guess CAD1 में you have done it. एक सर्किट है, उस सर्किट के अंदर I wanted कि इस resistor, तो उससे क्या होगा? R2 by S नहीं. There is one theorem coming from there.
जो थेवेनिन और लोड का होता है, इक्वल होनी चाहिए और जो
And that is called as one formula or one proof coming on from CAD1. उसका एक नाम है जी. Anyone from here? In this circuitry, you want the power dissipated in this resistance to be maximum. It has to be equal. Listen, this resistance or impedance has to be equal to the remaining resistance of the circuit, and this is the maximum power transfer theorem. Maximum power transfer theorem. This resistance of R2 by S has to be equal to the resistance of the remaining circuit, then you are going to have the maximum power transfer. Now here in this case V Thevenin हमने कहा उसकी कोई impedance नहीं है, लेकिन practically it may have some impedance also. R Thevenin भी है, JX Thevenin भी है, JX2 भी है. So the condition for maximum power transfer is this, that your R2 by S is equal to the remaining impedance over here. This is the condition for maximum power transfer that can occur, that R2 by S should be equal to the remaining whatever impedance. CAD1 rule. Now, this S, when it will become, R2 by S will become equal to this term, this means I am talking about this S, which is actually S max. So instead of using S over there, just taking this R on this side, R2 here, I have my S max equal to this form. So अगर आपसे एक simple question आता है, you have it from, give me the value of the slip at which maximum torque will occur. You have the equation in front of you. Simple R2 divided by the magnitude. I am only interested in the magnitude, so that's why we have taken again the R square plus X square formula, square root over there. Now, when you have found out S max, now it becomes very simple. You only have to put in place of this S, you only have to put in the value of S max, and now your torque will be the pull out torque over here. Now I'm leaving one question over here with you, and you have to do it in your assignment part. You have to put this S max formula in the torque equation, whatever we have done previously, and the end result is this one. Just a simple, like maybe 6-7 lines, nothing fancy over there. You just have to put this S max into the torque formula which we have done previously, and this gives us the maximum torque. In fact, this is also called as the T pull out over here. Okay. So add this small proof, just like maybe one page, not more than that, in your assignment number 4, the 20 questions, 20 है ना? 20 questions over there in your assignment number 4. Please kindly do practice of those 20 questions. They have been very elaborately written and almost all the questions are different one from each other. So please kindly do them. Any questions is from today ji? This is all, and this is article number, I guess, 6. Let me just confirm it out. This is up till 6.5 is complete. Kindly please go through example number 6.4 and 6.5. 6.5 and 6.4 very important. They both are interlinked with each other, but they are using the same formula, same thing, everything. यही formula use हो रहे हैं. This one for T pull out, and they are also doing it for this torque. You want to put slip S equal to 1, you can find out T starting, or if they are asking you to find out the X Thevenin, R Thevenin, or they are also asking you to find out the V Thevenin over here. Okay? So just very simple proof over there. This is up to article number 6.5 over there. From chapter number 6, one thing very important. From chapter number 6,